Alrighty, welcome back to another exciting episode of Reacting to Crash Videos. But before we get into it, two quick messages. One is to YouTube, the human reviewer that will inevitably be reviewing this video. This video is being done for educational purposes. We are breaking down specific paramotor crashes, learning from them, and hopefully not ever recreating them. Therefore, it does not fall under the harmful and dangerous acts category and therefore should be fully monetized. Thanks, YouTube. Second quick message for you guys. As far as content goes, early April, I am looking to launch the next giveaway, which is going to be a tandem trike. I'm super excited about that, so just keep that in your calendars. Anyways, let's get to crash number one. Normally, I put these in order of severity, but I haven't watched these videos in a long time, to be honest, so this is going to be a surprise to all of us. Let's check out video number one.
Deu ruim, viu? Cadê o bombeiro?
All right, so we have a tandem foot launch paramotor launching on the beach. We got a spotter helping him inflate the wing. That's all cool. But our runway is pretty short and Buddy looks a little underpowered. Now that he's over the water, he's getting way too deep in the brakes and he splashes down into the waves. So a few obvious things to critique about this. Runway was not quite long enough. Maybe if he had more of a headwind in a beach flying environment like this, it would have been okay. But especially for a tandem, you want to make sure you have more than enough room. Whenever you're flying and responsible for someone else's life, you got to make sure your margins are good. Second, you will notice that he does get off the ground, but then he comes back down. And that is because he's getting deep into the brakes. You can see the trailing edge deflection. You can see his arms are pretty low. And he's just increasing that angle of attack and not letting the glider fly. And he meets that point of no return where it just starts to mush and come back down. I think he could have pulled this off if as soon as he got off the ground, he slowly let his hands up. Good form is pulling a little bit of brake to increase your lift temporarily so you can get off the ground at a slower speed. But as soon as you're off the ground and climbing, slowly giving that brake pressure back up so that the glider can accelerate to full speed. We see him almost do the opposite here. As he's climbing out, he's pulling more and more brake, just slowing that glider down and mushing it. Without airspeed, the glider can't fly anymore. He comes back down. The third thing to point out is water is very dangerous for paramotors. You're strapped into a harness and a motor, and drowning can occur very easily. This right here is a really not good combination. Tandem, so there's two dudes tied together to this motor, and he's going into crashing waves. You don't see it in the video, but I would really hope that a bystander runs into the water and helps them out. But if that's not the case, you want to make sure you have flotation on board so that in the worst case scenario like this, you can survive and you don't drown. Okay, so this one involves towing. And towing can be very, very dangerous. There's a reason that there is a certification for a tow machine operator. Here we have a paraglider being towed up behind, it sounds like a snowmobile. Buddy gets pulled off the ground, accelerates extremely fast, goes straight up, puts too much tension on the line breaks, glider frontals, and he comes slamming down. Luckily, the snow looks like it broke his fall and it looks like he walks away unscathed. It's interesting because the normal danger with towing is lockout, which happens when you get off center too far behind the tow vehicle and you're getting pulled to the side, and there's a point of no return where you can't physically get the glider to come back to center. You get lockout and then you go all the way off to the side and smash into the ground. But that's not what happened here. In this scenario, it looks like he just got towed way too fast, accelerated straight up into the sky, and that put too much tension on the tow rope. The tow rope snaps, and in that instant of going from so much power to zero power, he's out of frame, but I would suspect the glider frontaled because it surged super hard after the tow rope snapped and he couldn't recover it and he just plows into the ground. Moral of the story, if you're gonna do towing, I would make sure you do it with a qualified professional. Like my friends at Aviator who do towing in their training, they have a tow machine, they have radio communication, they do it in a very safe manner, but doing it behind an ATV or a snowmobile or a truck or whatever it may be, redneck style is not the way to do towing. This one is posted by Jonathan Dutton on YouTube, and I'll have it linked down below. So this video is interesting to me because this is pretty close to home. Jonathan's out flying by the Superstition Mountains, and I'm actually familiar with the spot he's launching at, and to be honest, it is not the best launch in the area. You can see on his takeoff, he barely clears this hard metal fence, just lifts his legs up over it, and just barely gets off the ground. He's holding full power, and still barely out climbing the terrain and all these saguaros. I would suspect that he's probably pretty heavily loaded on this glider, which I think is a Dudek Hydron. So throughout this flight, you see Jonathan buzzing around, waiting for his buddies to take off. Jonathan's not wearing a helmet on this flight. He has some earbuds in, which to each their own. If you don't want to wear a helmet, that's your own decision. Personally, I always wear one, except special occasions when I want to shut my motor off at the end of the flight and just glide down and hear the wind. But I only do that in controlled environments when I know I'm not going to have a motor out and crash into something unexpected. It's only ever over the LZ at the very end of the flight. But anyway, I digress. Jonathan is enjoying his flight and then his motor dies, which out flying in this terrain can be a pretty hairy situation. It looks like Jonathan gets it pointed in the right direction to make the safest landing zone, tries to restart his motor. I think he gets it going and then it dies again, in which case he tries again to restart the motor, but it won't restart the second time. He has to commit to the landing and he just barely sneaks the landing in. So overall, a pretty good save here. General rule of thumb in paramotoring is to always expect that your engine's gonna die because eventually, inevitably, if you fly enough, you're going to experience a motor out. So if you're doing everything 100% safe, you will always fly at an altitude that you can glide to an LZ. But we're all not perfect. Everyone always weighs the risk of when you want to take the chance and hope that your motor doesn't die to fly in some unforgiving terrain.
Yeah. I'm fine. No, I was trying to get over that tree. I hit it with my feet though, but my motor died and I restarted it and then it died again. So something's wrong. And then I'm like, okay, I got to find a place to land. And so I curved over here. I was aiming for the street. Well, I kind of hit the street after that tree, but anyway, makes for some adventure.
Overall, I think he just got a couple scratches, so at the end of the day, good save. All right, our final video is from Frederick Storoning, Learning to Fly on YouTube. This one is quite the flight. So he starts out with his flat top trike, gets it pull started, sits down, clips in. He's got multiple GoPros running. He's got his knee pads on, helmet on, very well equipped, but this launch doesn't go particularly well. On the launch, you can immediately tell he doesn't have the best glider control. The glider comes back and sags back quite a bit, then surges, it's all over the place. He just barely gets off the ground, hits a massive rock pile, which sends him flying sideways, and then subsequently comes down, hits the ground, breaks an entire axle off, and then still continues to fly away. If I was in this scenario up in the sky and I had just broken off an axle, here's what I'd be thinking. Most likely, my best bet is just gonna be to try to land smooth as possible on an extremely smooth surface. If there was asphalt, I might even choose that because I'm thinking that that axle, if you land on grass or dirt, might just dig into the ground and flip you. Not only do I wanna land as smoothly as possible, but I also wanna land as slowly as possible. So I'm gonna be thinking about getting the landing to a full stall, almost a full stop if possible. Here we can see set up for the landing. He's directly into the wind. There is a little bit of headwind to help him out here, luckily. You can see on the windsock. Brings it in for not the most graceful landing, but it's a hell of a save. As I say, any landing you can walk away from is a good landing. I think this could have been a little bit more dialed with a little bit better flare timing, but hey, Frederick walks away unscathed. I call that a job well done. Appreciate everyone sharing these videos. videos. Like I mentioned, just stay tuned for beginning of April when I'm planning on launching 3 new designs at Risky Biscuits Co. and the new tandem trike giveaway. Super excited to get this trike, film some content with it, have some fun, and eventually give it off to one of you guys. Till the next episode, have fun, fly safe, peace.